Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of the kingdom, I stand before you today with a prophetic declaration. God is about to move suddenly, and when He does, your life as you know it will no longer look the same. Heaven does not need a committee, a forecast, or a boardroom to initiate change. When God decides to move, He moves without warning, but never without purpose. God does not announce earthquakes, He sends them. That's the nature of the God we serve. He does not operate according to man's calendar, nor is He constrained by the systems and timelines of this world. Heaven's greatest shifts are not dictated by earthly protocol. They are born in the eternal counsel of God. What we consider unexpected is already ordained. What shocks us has been scheduled in the secret chambers of the Most High. When God moves suddenly, it is not an accident, it is a calculated strike. It is not spontaneous in heaven, it is strategic from eternity. We often assume that divine intervention will come with announcements, with warning signs, with some visible signal that it is near. But that is not the pattern of God. Earthquakes, by their very nature, come without warning. They disrupt, they shift, they realign. And so it is with divine moments. When God is about to shift your season, He doesn't always give you a heads up. He sends the shift. He sends the shaking. He sends the change. And what you thought was a breakdown is actually a breakthrough. What you called chaos is actually construction. What feels like confusion is often reconfiguration. You see, if God announced everything before He did it, faith would have no place to function. He is not obligated to explain Himself before He performs. This is why many people miss their moment, because they were waiting for a sign and God was waiting for surrender. They wanted information, but God wanted obedience. When heaven prepares to shift a life, it is not based on human logic, it is based on kingdom order. God sees the end from the beginning, so His timing is not based on your comfort, your understanding, or your plans. It is based on purpose, and purpose has a schedule that man cannot predict. There are times when everything in your life seems stable, predictable, and under control, and yet that is exactly when God sends the earthquake. Not to destroy, but to dislodge, not to ruin, but to release. Because comfort can become a cage. Familiarity can become a prison. And when purpose is calling you higher, God will shake the ground beneath your feet to push you where your faith would not walk on its own. This is not punishment, it is placement. God is shifting you, not because He is angry with you, but because He's too committed to your destiny to let you stay where you are. The suddenness of God's movement is a reflection of His sovereignty. He does not need your permission to promote you. He does not need your agreement to elevate you. And He surely does not need to check with your fears, your past, or your resume before He calls you into a new season. The problem is, many of us are trying to understand a God who is beyond understanding. We are trying to put eternal purpose into temporal containers. But God's movements are not random. They are divine. They are precise. They are orchestrated. And when He moves, everything around you will shift, whether you feel ready or not. Think about it. One day David was in the field watching sheep. The next, he was anointed by a prophet. One day Esther was an orphan girl in exile. The next, she was queen over an empire. One day Peter was casting his nets as a fisherman. The next, Jesus called him into apostolic destiny. These were not gradual transitions. These were sudden shifts, earthquakes. And not one of them received a memo in advance. Not one of them got a 30-day notice. Because when it is time, God moves suddenly. And when He does not consult your comfort zone. He calls you into your created zone. This is why we must live prepared. Because God's sudden move may not come with a countdown. He may not ask if you're ready. He may simply determine that the moment is ready for you. And when He does, the people who were sleeping will miss it, but the people who were faithful in secret will be promoted in public. This is how God works. He rewards not noise, but alignment. He looks not for activity, but for obedience. Your consistency in the quiet is what qualifies you for the sudden shift in the spotlight. There's a reason God moves like an earthquake, because earthquakes break up old ground. They crack foundations that cannot support the weight of your next season. They expose weaknesses that have been hidden under surface level stability. When God sends a shaking, it is not because He wants to harm you. It is because He wants to build something stronger. The structures in your life that were built on fear, insecurity, or human approval will not survive a divine earthquake. Only what is rooted in Him will remain standing. And here's the most powerful part. Earthquakes don't just shake you, they shift everything around you. When God decides to elevate you, He doesn't just touch your life, He touches your environment. Relationships will shift. Resources will shift. Assignments will shift. Opportunities will begin to flow in from places you didn't apply to. People who never noticed you will suddenly seek you out. But it's not you they're seeing. It's the evidence of heaven's hand on your life. It's the aftershock of God's move. But be warned, not everyone will understand the shift. Some will say you came out of nowhere. Some will question how it happened so fast. They will wonder how someone who seemed invisible yesterday is influential today. But they won't see the years you spent in the secret place. They won't know the prayers you prayed in silence. They won't understand the tears you cried when no one else was watching, because to them it looks sudden. But to heaven it was scheduled. This is why your preparation is never wasted. Even when nothing seems to be moving, even when no doors are opening, even when the heavens seem silent, God is not inactive. He is waiting for the precise moment to move. And when that moment comes, He doesn't just change your day, He changes your decade. He doesn't just elevate your position, He elevates your impact. But only those who are ready in the dark will be trusted in the light. God does not owe you a warning before He shifts your life. He only asks for your faithfulness before the shift. Because when He decides to send that earthquake, it's not a rehearsal, it's a release. A release into everything He spoke over you before you were formed in your mother's womb. A release into the assignment He designed you to fulfill before the foundation of the world. A release that will make up for lost years in a single moment. A release that will silence every lie spoken against your future. A release that will reveal the purpose behind every season of pain. So don't be discouraged if you don't see the signs. Don't be dismayed if the atmosphere feels quiet. Remember, earthquakes don't announce themselves, they arrive. And when they do, they don't ask permission to shift the landscape. They just do it. Delay is often the setup for divine acceleration. What you perceive as a standstill is not the absence of God's hand, it is the precision of His process. Silence does not mean stagnation. Quietness is not always emptiness. When heaven delays, it is not denying His developing. It is orchestrating a move that will not simply shift your life slowly, but launch you with a velocity that only God can sustain. The delay is not a punishment. It is a process. And that process is a womb for something too weighty to be birthed prematurely. We live in a culture obsessed with speed, where delay is equated with failure and waiting is treated as wasted time. But in the kingdom of God, delay is often the strategy. Divine things require divine timing. If God allowed you to enter certain doors too early, they would become traps instead of platforms. If He gave you the influence you asked for without the character to carry it, the same blessing would break you. So He waits not because He is unsure, but because He is intentional. He hides you, not to hurt you, but to preserve you. He says not yet. Not to frustrate you, but to form you. You must understand that while you are waiting, God is not wasting time. He is building things in you that are essential for the weight of the assignment ahead. He is removing impurities, breaking pride, strengthening your endurance, and sharpening your vision. What looks like delay is really divine incubation. And just like a seed in the soil, though unseen, something powerful is taking place beneath the surface. The roots are growing before the fruit can show. The foundation is being laid before the structure rises. God is not slow, He is thorough. Delay also allows the environment to come into alignment with your assignment. Sometimes, it's not just about you being ready. It's about the timing of everything around you catching up to God's plan for your life. He may be preparing hearts that you will influence, aligning relationships that will partner with your purpose, or even removing obstacles you can't yet see. While you wait, heaven is moving. While you wait, angels are working. While you wait, pieces are falling into place that you didn't even know were out of alignment. And here is the mystery: when the time comes, God doesn't walk you slowly into your next season. He launches you. The same God who allowed you to wait in obscurity will be the same God who catapults you into visibility. The same God who allowed delay will release acceleration. Suddenly, things that were stuck will start to move. Doors that stayed closed will burst open. Relationships that went silent will reconnect. Strategies you couldn't figure out will download clearly. And it will seem as if it happened overnight, but it didn't. It was a build-up. It was the cumulative effect of obedience, faithfulness, and surrender meeting divine timing. Acceleration is heaven's response to those who didn't quit in delay. God never forgets those who kept showing up when nothing was happening. Those who kept worshiping when there was no breakthrough. Those who kept building when no one was watching. Those who were faithful with little. Those who stayed humble when passed over. Those who said yes to the process when it was painful. It is to them that God says, now. And when heaven says now, no force on earth can say, wait. That's when divine acceleration hits your life, not to impress you, but to fulfill purpose. This is why you must resist the temptation to force your way forward. What you manufacture in your flesh, you will have to maintain in your flesh. But what God launches by His Spirit, He sustains by His grace. Trust the timing. Trust the stillness. Trust the uncomfortable waiting rooms of destiny. Because when it is time, God will not take you through a side door. He will place you center stage, not for applause, but for assignment. The delay was not a detour. It was a runway. And the reason it's been so long is because the altitude He's about to take you to requires greater thrust. And don't forget, divine acceleration doesn't just make up for lost time. It redefines it. In one moment, Joseph moved from prison to palace. In one night, Peter went from denying Christ to preaching to thousands. In one encounter, Saul went from persecutor to apostle. These were not stories of slow progress. They were expressions of sudden elevation after divine delay. And in every case, the delay did not disqualify them. It prepared them. The pain was not a sign of abandonment. It was the signal of a setup. So don't curse the delay. Don't despise the silence. Don't question the process. God has not forgotten you. Heaven has not missed your name. Your obedience is not in vain. Your tears are not ignored. Your preparation is not invisible. When it's time, the shift will be swift. The door will not creak. It will swing open. The promise will not drip. It will pour. And when it happens, you will look back and realize it didn't take long. It just took God. Because when divine acceleration arrives, it will not explain. It will overtake. It will redeem years and days. It will fulfill prophecies you forgot. It will silence every doubt, cancel every delay, and validate every sacrifice. The waiting room is not the end of your story. It's the womb of your sudden launching. When heaven moves, it bypasses protocols. God is not bound by the frameworks that man builds to control access, to measure worth, or to decide promotion. He does not submit to bureaucracy, traditions, or institutional hierarchies. When He gets ready to move in someone's life, He does not need to go through human permission slips or approval chains. He overrides systems, breaks chains of limitation, and cancels the timelines others tried to set for you. What takes men 10 years can take God 10 seconds when divine purpose collides with perfect timing. God's movement is not restrained by resumes, connections, or qualifications. It is governed by His will, His word, and His wisdom. You must understand that systems exist to organize human processes, but they cannot contain divine interventions. Structures are built to regulate access, but they collapse when God opens a door no man can shut. Heaven is not impressed with earthly rank. The throne of God does not bow to titles, degrees, or social standing. When God decides to elevate someone, He doesn't need the vote of a committee. He does not go through the chain of command. He is the command. He speaks, and the heavens move. He declares, and barriers break. One word from God can do what a lifetime of striving cannot, because His power is not democratic, it is sovereign. This is why we must stop limiting what God can do in our lives based on what man says is possible. People may tell you that you're not ready, not qualified, not experienced enough, not connected enough, not educated enough, but none of those disqualify you when heaven decides to move. God has a history of using the overlooked, the underestimated, and the underprepared. Why? Because He wants to show that the power is not in the vessel, but in the one who fills it. He chooses the weak things to confound the mighty. He uses the foolish things to confound the wise. He is not looking for polished perfection. He is looking for surrendered vessels. When God bypasses protocol, it's because purpose is more powerful than process. Protocols are for order. But when they become obstacles to destiny, God bypasses them. He will skip lines. He will reverse rulings. He will interrupt systems. That's what happened with Esther. She was not born into royalty, had no noble blood, and no political lineage. But when purpose met timing, the king extended his scepter. She did not rise through the ranks. She rose through favor. That's what happened with Joseph. He didn't climb the ladder of political influence. He was taken from a prison cell and placed at Pharaoh's side. No election, no campaign. No human recommendation. Just a divine interruption. You see, God doesn't always work within the expected routes, because the expected routes are often filled with human control. God will intentionally move outside the box to show that His ways are not our ways. He will do it in a way no one expects, so no one else can take the credit. That's why He'll bless you without a degree. That's why He'll raise you without a platform. That's why He'll heal you without a medical explanation. Because when it happens outside the system, people are forced to recognize the source, and the source is heaven. When heaven bypasses protocol, it often offends those who were dependent on the system. Those who were waiting in line, those who were relying on their status, those who thought they had earned their promotion by performance. These are the people who struggle the most when God moves suddenly in someone else's life. But God is not moved by entitlement. He is moved by alignment. He does not reward effort alone. He rewards obedience. This is why the last will be first. This is why the stone the builders rejected becomes the cornerstone. This is why those who were counted out become the ones he counts on. And when it happens, the shift is so undeniable that even your critics will have to acknowledge it. Because you will arrive at a place they thought would take you decades to reach. You will walk through doors they never thought would open for you. And they will ask how you got there. And you won't have an answer that fits human reasoning. Because it wasn't your plan, it wasn't your strategy, it wasn't your connections. It was God bypassing the natural to fulfill the supernatural. That's why you must never discount yourself because of where you started or how long it's been. God doesn't always promote from the top down. He often lifts from the bottom up. He raises the poor from the dust and seats them among princes. He takes nobodies and gives them names that echo across generations. You may be invisible to men, but you are not invisible to God. You may not be in the room, but God is preparing a table for you anyway. And when the moment comes, He will bring you in, not through the back door, but through a divine entrance that no one saw coming. And you must be ready for it, because when heaven moves, it won't wait for you to be accepted by the system. It won't wait for you to be liked by people. It won't wait for you to be validated by culture. It will come on the wind of purpose, and it will sweep you into places that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. But don't let the speed of the elevation shake your foundation. Stay grounded. Remember that the same God who bypassed protocols to place you there is the same God who requires you to represent His kingdom there. You are not there for status. You are there for service. You are not there to boast, you are there to build. So stay faithful where you are. Stay surrendered in the process. Because when heaven moves, it does not move slowly, and it does not move traditionally. It moves with authority. It moves with clarity. It moves with unstoppable power. And when that movement finds you, it will not ask if you're ready. It will simply say, now. Sudden shifts require secret preparation. The world often sees the elevation, the spotlight, the overnight success, but what it cannot see is the hidden years, the lonely places, and the silent obedience that paved the way. God does not reveal publicly what He has not refined privately. The stage is never the starting point, it's the result. The promotion may look sudden, but the process has been long. The exposure may come in an instant, but the preparation has been unfolding in the shadows. Heaven never surprises the prepared. God will never rush you into visibility if your character cannot handle the weight of the assignment. And that's why the hidden seasons are not just important, they are essential. There are seasons in life where it seems as if nothing is moving. No opportunities are coming, no doors are opening, and no one seems to notice your gifts. But this is not punishment, it is protection. God hides what He is developing. He conceals what He is cultivating. He places potential in obscurity, not to diminish it, but to strengthen it away from distraction, competition, and applause. Because the pressure of public platforms can destroy what was not forged in the secret place. If you skip the preparation, you forfeit the power. If you rush the process, you weaken the foundation. God takes His time with those He plans to use greatly. The greatest men and women God used in Scripture spent long seasons in silence before they stepped into significance. Moses was hidden for 40 years on the backside of the desert before he was called to confront Pharaoh. David was anointed king while still tending sheep, and years passed before he ever touched the throne. Jesus Himself, the Son of God, spent 30 years in obscurity and only 3 years in ministry. Why? Because preparation matters to God. Obscurity builds things in you that visibility can't. In the hidden place, you learn to depend on God alone. You learn to worship without an audience, to be faithful without applause, to obey without affirmation. This is where God shapes your identity. In the silence, you find out who you are apart from titles, crowds, and performance. You discover that your value is not in what you do, but in who you are. You learn integrity when no one is watching. You learn discipline when no one is rewarding you. You develop consistency when there is no recognition. These are the traits that sustain you when the spotlight comes. Because what God is building in you in secret is the exact strength you will need when He releases you in public. If you try to step into the next season without it, the pressure will crush you. But if you let God form you fully, the spotlight won't break you. It will reveal what He's already built. The preparation is never glamorous. It is quiet. It is repetitive. It is humbling. There are days when you will wonder if you are forgotten, if the promise will ever come to pass, if your faithfulness even matters. But in those moments, God is watching closely. He sees the way you serve when no one claps. He sees the way you give when no one thanks you. He sees the way you show up, pray up, and stay up when quitting would be easier. And He stores every act of obedience in heaven's vault. Nothing is wasted. Not a single tear, not a single moment, not a single seed. Every second of preparation is an investment in your future. And here's the mystery of the kingdom: the greater the assignment, the deeper the preparation. The longer the wait, the higher the launch. Because God does not elevate based on gifting alone. He elevates based on capacity. And capacity is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the shadows. That's why you've been hidden. That's why you've been passed over. That's why it seemed like others were leaping ahead while you stayed in the background. Because God has been working behind the curtain. He's been stretching your endurance, sharpening your discernment, molding your spirit. You're not behind, you're becoming. And when the moment comes, it will be sudden to everyone else, but not to you. Because you'll know what it cost. You'll know the prayers that birthed it. You'll know the wilderness that shaped it. You'll know the nights of silence that gave it depth. That is why sudden shifts require secret preparation. Because God is not trying to impress people. He's trying to entrust purpose. He's not trying to create a viral moment. He's forming a vessel that can carry glory without cracking under pressure. And that takes time. That takes stillness. That takes humility. So don't resent the silence. Don't fight the hiddenness. Don't despise the quiet years. This is where champions are made. This is where kings are shaped. This is where mantles are received. This is where oil is pressed. You're not buried. You're planted. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And when it's time, when you're ready, when the structure and you can handle the weight God is about to place on you, He will move. Not gradually, not politely, but suddenly. And when He does, the world will see what God already knew. They will witness what heaven has been building in secret. And while they marvel at the speed of your elevation, you will stand firm, knowing it was the strength of your preparation that carried you to that place. The enemy always strikes before a divine shift. This is a spiritual law hidden in plain sight throughout Scripture and echoed in the lives of every person God has ever called, elevated, or launched into a new dimension. Before there is movement in the natural, there is resistance in the spiritual. Before doors swing open, hell tries to shut them. Before elevation manifests, agitation begins. And if you're discerning, you'll recognize that the warfare isn't proof of your failure. It's confirmation of your positioning. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're close. The enemy never fights what doesn't threaten him. Hell only attacks what heaven has already approved. This is why the battle often intensifies right before a breakthrough. The enemy knows when your season is shifting. He sees the signs of heavenly activity around your life even before you do. He senses the acceleration of angelic assignment, the rumble of divine movement, the preparation of heavenly doors about to open. And in response, he stirs chaos, not because he can stop the move, but because he wants to sabotage your mindset before it happens. His goal is not just to oppose you. It's to distract you, discourage you, and disorient you. If he can't stop the blessing, he'll try to make you forfeit it in exhaustion, fear, or confusion. So if you've been under pressure lately, if everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, if you feel surrounded by warfare on every side, don't panic, rejoice. Not because of the pain, but because of what the pain is announcing. Heaven is near. Release is close. The agitation is an indicator. The warfare is a whisper that something is shifting in the atmosphere. You're not crazy. You're not cursed. You're not being punished. You are being prepared. The fight around you is a sign of the favor on you. The tension is pointing to a transition. Think about it. Before Joseph was elevated to the palace, he was falsely accused, thrown into prison, and forgotten by those he helped. Before Moses led a nation out of bondage, he was hunted, rejected, and doubted. Before Jesus launched into public ministry, he faced Satan in the wilderness. And even before his resurrection, he endured the agony of the cross. In every case, the enemy launched his fiercest assault just before heaven unleashed its greatest move. This is not a coincidence, it's a pattern, a signal, a prophetic clue that tells you, don't quit now. You're closer than you've ever been. The enemy strikes hardest when your next level is about to unlock. And the reason the warfare feels unfamiliar or intense is because the assignment connected to your next season is heavier than your last. The opposition is not just about where you are, it's about where you're going. And the enemy is terrified of who you're becoming. He remembers the promise over your life even when you forget it. He recalls the word God spoke over you even when you doubt it. He fears your obedience, your resilience, your anointing. Because he knows one obedient son or daughter of the kingdom can shake nations, disrupt systems, and bring deliverance to entire regions. So he strikes, and he strikes early. But what the enemy doesn't realize is that his attack is being used by God as training. The pressure is refining you. The betrayal is teaching you. The pain is deepening your dependence. Every weapon formed against you is failing in its mission to destroy you, but it is succeeding in making you more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. What the enemy sends to break you, God uses to build you. What he meant for evil, God turns for good. You're not just surviving the fight. You're gaining strength, wisdom, endurance, and authority. And when the shift comes, you'll walk into it not weak, but battle-tested. Not naive, but deeply rooted. Not bitter, but boldly confident in the one who kept you through the storm. Don't let the warfare cause you to doubt the word. Don't let the resistance make you question the release. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to press in. When the enemy strikes, respond with worship. When he whispers lies, respond with truth. When he throws confusion, anchor yourself in the clarity of God's promises. Because if hell is attacking you with this much force, it's because heaven is about to trust you with this much favor. The greater the warfare, the greater the weight of what's coming. And if you can endure this stretch, you'll step into a space that you didn't earn, but that you were prepared for. Sometimes, the enemy strikes to see if you've outgrown old triggers. He stirs familiar situations to test if your response has matured. The conflict isn't always about external circumstances. It's about internal capacity. Have you grown? Can you forgive faster this time? Can you choose peace over panic? Can you speak faith when fear screams? These are the tests that prepare you for territory. And when you pass them, you prove to heaven that you can carry what's next without compromising your character. Understand this clearly: the enemy cannot cancel your destiny, but he will do everything he can to delay it. He'll use people, distractions, offenses, fatigue, and confusion. He'll try to exhaust your faith before your harvest arrives, but his tactics haven't changed, and they haven't worked. Because here you are, still standing, still believing, still moving forward, and every step you've taken in obedience has brought you closer to the sudden shift that will change everything. So don't be discouraged by the agitation. Don't be overwhelmed by the pressure. It's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is right. God is near. The shift is upon you. Heaven is stirring, and the enemy is nervous. Let that be your confirmation. Let that be your clarity. You are not fighting for survival. You are pressing into destiny. And no attack from hell can stop what heaven has already put in motion. You must be in position for the sudden transition. God's move may be sovereign, but your alignment is your responsibility. Heaven will never fail to fulfill its schedule, but whether you participate in that fulfillment is not guaranteed. It is determined by your posture. The doors may open suddenly, but they won't drag anyone through them. They won't pull the unprepared. They won't carry the distracted. They won't bend for the undisciplined. When the divine shift happens, only those who are rightly positioned in heart, mind, and obedience will step into what has been predestined. Purpose does not respond to proximity. It responds to alignment. There is a posture that precedes participation. A stance of obedience, humility, faith, and readiness. You cannot wait for the opportunity to get ready. You must live ready. Sudden shifts do not come with reminders. They don't wait for you to gather your thoughts, fix your habits, or untangle your distractions. When heaven moves, it moves swiftly, decisively, and sometimes violently. And if you're not aligned, you'll be left staring at an open door you were too spiritually dull to enter. This is not about punishment. This is about principle. God does not waste doors on those who are not positioned to walk through them. Position is not just geographical. It's spiritual. It's emotional. It's mental. Being in the right place outwardly means nothing if you are off in your soul. Some people are in the building, but not in the flow. They are close to the promise, but disconnected from the process. They have the appearance of pursuit, but no inward discipline. They want the platform, but not the posture. But heaven doesn't elevate based on appearances. It elevates based on order. And order begins with alignment to the will of God, not the will of man. Are you positioned in His word? Are you aligned with His pace? Have you surrendered your timing, your comfort, and your plan? This is why preparation must be continual. Because the move will not come when you expect it. It may happen while you're still cleaning the field like Ruth. It may show up while you're still running errands like David. It may meet you on a routine job like Peter. But in all these cases, the people were not idle. They were positioned. They were not waiting passively. They were working faithfully. They were not trying to be seen. They were being faithful in the unseen. And that faithfulness positioned them to walk into sudden transition when heaven called. You don't prepare for destiny when the door opens. You prepare now in obscurity, in silence, in surrender. Being in position also means you have to be willing to leave where you are when the shift comes. Some people miss divine transitions not because they're ignorant of God's movement, but because they're too attached to the last season. They've grown comfortable in places they were only supposed to pass through. They've built homes in seasons that were meant to be tense. So when the call comes to move, to stretch, to step forward, they hesitate. And in that hesitation, the moment passes. Understand this, every sudden move of God requires a corresponding step of faith. And faith is not just belief, it is movement. You must move when heaven moves, or you risk being left in a place God has already vacated. Sometimes positioning also requires pruning. You may have to let go of people, habits, thought patterns, or even old mindsets that no longer fit your next season. The weight of where you're going will not accommodate the baggage of where you've been. God is not obligated to accommodate what you refuse to release. So alignment will always require adjustment. If you're asking for elevation but resisting correction, you're not positioned, you're posturing. Heaven does not respond to performance. It responds to purity, to surrender, to availability. There is also a time sensitivity to positioning. You can't delay obedience and expect timely participation. Delayed obedience is disobedience. When the instruction comes, move. When the conviction hits, respond. When the Spirit nudges, yield. The window of opportunity may not stay open indefinitely. The cloud will move, and if you're not ready to move with it, you'll end up wandering in circles while others are occupying promise. The shift is not just about what God is doing, it's about who is ready when He does it. In this season, being almost ready is the same as being unready. Heaven is not looking for perfect people, but it is seeking positioned people. People who are tuned in, sensitive, and postured to say yes without hesitation. People who don't need to be convinced, but who have cultivated the discipline to recognize the moment and act on it. These are the people who participate in divine transitions. These are the ones who step into doors that were never announced. These are the ones who seem to leap forward while others remain stuck. And the difference isn't favor, it's alignment. So examine yourself. Are you positioned? Are your thoughts aligned with His truth? Are your habits shaped by His principles? Are your relationships pushing you toward purpose or pulling you away from it? Are your ears tuned to the frequency of the Spirit, or are they dulled by the noise of culture, comparison, and comfort? Because when the trumpet sounds, when the invitation comes, when the moment arrives, you won't have time to prepare. You'll only have time to step, and you can only step into what you're already positioned for. The transition is coming suddenly. The release is being scheduled. The heavens are moving, and the earth will respond. But only the aligned will advance. Only the positioned will participate. And what God has planned cannot be explained. It can only be entered. My friends, let me tell you, God is not trying to surprise you. He's trying to position you. The shaking was not to break you, but to align you. The silence was not abandonment. It was strategy. The warfare was not a curse. It was a confirmation. The hiding was not rejection. It was refinement. And the delay was never denial. It was divine design. Because when God moves, He does not move randomly. He moves with intention. He moves with order. He moves with purpose. And that purpose is bigger than your feelings, stronger than your environment, and deeper than your understanding. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on you to step into position, to align with His will, to release what is old, and to embrace what is next. You must stop living by clocks and start living by Kairos, God's appointed time. Because when purpose and timing collide, no devil in hell, no system on earth, and no history of failure can stop the hand of heaven. He does not bless talent, He blesses time, and He does not anoint ambition, He anoints alignment. So don't be distracted by the noise. Don't be discouraged by the delay. Don't be deceived by what you see. Because while men are looking at status Heaven is watching for posture. While the world honors position, God honors preparation. The next move of God will not come through systems. It will not come through tradition. It will come through those who stayed faithful in obscurity, pure in motive, and available in spirit. He is about to move suddenly. He is about to shift swiftly. And when he does, it will not be based on who they said you were. It will be based on who he knows you are. And when that moment arrives, you will not be stepping into a season. You will be stepping into your assignment. Not to impress people, but to impact nations. Not to be famous, but to be fruitful. Not for attention, but for authority. So I say to you today, get in position. Fix your posture. Sharpen your hearing. Purify your heart. Because the next shift will not come with announcement, but with acceleration. And when it comes, only the aligned will ascend. Your moment is not coming. Your moment is already moving. Heaven has already scheduled it. Make sure you're not out of place when the King decides it's your time. It won't be explained. It will only be experienced. And when it happens, all you'll be able to say is, "This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes."